So the 2024-2025 season previews will continue on yet again today with the Colorado Avalanche. So the Avalanche are definitely a team that is still in the race for a Stanley Cup. It's just a wonder of where you think they are in overall Stanley Cup rankings and if you think they can contend for another one. However, with guys they have coming back that can make you consider, yeah, maybe they can go for it. But with guys that are not going to come back, at least for a while, it might leave you with some questions. But regardless, what is still on the horizon and what is still remembered of this team is that Stanley Cup in 21-22, where they went 56-19-7 for 119 points. They were second in the NHL, and they won the Stanley Cup. So, obviously, this team is a Stanley Cup team. It feels like it was forever ago at this point, but it was only 2 years ago. It wasn't that long ago when they were Stanley Cup champions. It's just the amount that has happened since then has been just overwhelming, and it makes you not forget it, but kind of put it on the back burner and just kind of not realize it's still there. But, you know, in 22-23, they lost their captain for the entire season, and they went 51-24-7 for 109 points. They were 7th in the NHL, so still really good, but they lost in the first round of the Seattle Kraken in what was a clear upset. It was an upset. You can't doubt it whatsoever. Colorado was heavily favored in that game. They were the higher seed. Seattle ended up pulling out the win in Game 7. It was definitely an upset. It was a year full of a lot of upsets. But anyways, that was a rough loss for Colorado. They went into the next year without their captain again, and it showed in their results. They went 50-25-7 for 107 points. They were 8th in the NHL. They did beat the Winnipeg Jets in 5 games in the first round, but then they ended up losing in the second round to the Dallas Stars in 6 games. So it was yet again another exit there for Colorado. They can't seem to get past that second round hump, it seems now, in the past 2 years since then. And definitely this year, hopefully with their captain back, things might be able to change. Now, they did make a lot of moves during the offseason, let a lot of people go, and that being Sean Walker, Zach Parise, Andrew Cogliano, Oscar Olausson, I believe, or Frederick Olausson, sorry. Brandon Duhaime, and Yakov Trenin. So, again, some guys who were acquired at the trade deadline, like Duhaime, Trenin, and Walker. Those were all guys who were acquired midway through the season. I didn't hate any of those ads, but none of them ended up sticking around. The rest of them, Parise and Cogliano, retired. Olofsson, not a big name guy, a depth forward at best, to be honest. So, no really huge losses, and there wasn't really anyone brought in that was big either, apart from some upgrades on the blue line. So they brought in Parker Kelly, Oliver Shillington, Calvin DeHaan, and Eric Brandstrom. So Ottawa Senators fans, yes, they want to be you. I'm kidding. But anyways, Kelly, good depth forward, and Shillington, DeHaan, and Brandstrom all could be NHL impact defenders. They could be potentially third-pairing guys. They have a lot of defensive depth now with these guys added to the roster. So I do like what they're doing on that end. I do think that they're doing a very good job with that. And I think they overall got better. I should honestly add Landeskog in the key arrivals because Landeskog said, even in a recent quote, that it's a matter of when he will come back, not if, because he's been trying hard for the last couple of years. And it's very rare we see people come back from things like that. It's actually very rare, but it seems like it's getting more common, though, because you saw Couturier do it last year. You saw Tyler Seguin do it a few years ago. It feels like it's becoming more common, and Landeskog is the newest addition of that, obviously. So when you look at the Hockey News' projected lineups, yes, we're using the Hockey News now. If you've been following these, we use Daily Faceoff, but now that I have the yearbook, I'm going to use the Hockey News. You got your top 6 of Landeskog, McKinnon, Rantanen first line, and then Lehkonen, Middlestat, and Nichushkin. So notice how in the graphic that I just showed on screen, I believe there should be question marks next to Landeskog and Nichushkin, because Landeskog's a big question mark because obviously, as I said, he might come back in the first month of the season. He might take a little bit to get back. We're not 100% sure. And Nichushkin, we know, won't be back till at least November or December. And he might not even be back ever. So that's an issue there that definitely needs to be solved by the Avalanche. But Nichushkin, one of your most consistent playoff performers, had a great season last year and the year before. He dealt with similar issues in in against Seattle. There was things that went down there, and he dealt with the issues against Dallas. You know what happened? They lost both those series without Nichushkin. So I'm not going to get into the issues that Nichushkin is dealing with off the ice. That is a video for another time, or not even really a video, but that top six is very strong. I like that first line. That's a terrific first line. Your second line, you bring in Casey Middlestat for a full season. I think that he looked good as their second line center this past year, and I think overall that rounds out that top six perfectly. Your bottom six and some extra depth, you have Jonathan Drouin, Ross Colton, and Logan O'Connor at your third line. Then Miles Wood, Chris Wagner, and Nikolai Kovalenko. And then for some extra guys, you have Parker Kelly, John-Luc Foudy, and Joel Kiviranta. So I want to start off with Kovalenko because he's one of the bigger X factors that I look at when I see this team. He is one of the new guys that they kind of brought in midway through the year last year. He came over from the KHL. He was a 2018, I think, or 2017 draft pick. So he was a long time ago. It's almost like a Kirill Kaprizov with Minnesota situation. He came in at the end of the season, played a couple games, played in the playoffs. He looked like he was pretty solid. And a guy who played in the KHL for a lot of years, I'm not entirely sure if he's going to be Kaprizov level, but man, the kid could be really special. And he could be someone who really shocks people this year. And obviously could be in the running to win a Calder. So if you want to put Kovalenko in the Calder finalist, I wouldn't rule it out because even though he is on the fourth line here, if Nichushkin gets taken out, there's a really good chance that he moves up to the second line. And even if Landeskog's not playing, he could play first line minutes with Rantanen and McKinnon because he is a kid who is experienced. I wouldn't even call him a kid. He's an experienced adult who has played many years in the KHL at this point. So a lot of things to get excited with Kovalenko, but he's a big if. The rest of your bottom six is not too bad. I like the third line depth they have. Again, this all relies on if Landeskog comes back. If Landeskog comes back, their depth is great. If Landeskog stays out for the full month, I think you could see this team struggle a little bit for sure. But they do have McKinnon. They do have Rantanen. They do have their back end, which is still very, very good. Your first pairing on your defense is Devon Toews and Cale Makar. I said Devon Toews in probably the last video. Sam Girard and Josh Manson as your second pairing. Then you got Eric Branstrom and Oliver Shillington as your third pairing. And then your extra defender is Calvin DeHaan. So not a bad defense, to be honest. I like all those guys they have in there. That's a very solid top four. The third pairing is definitely going to be interesting to experiment with. But I think all those guys are looking for NHL time, and I think they will fit in very well with the Avalanche on that third pairing defense. And again, they have plenty of options of guys they could put into there. So we could see that third pairing get explored a lot. But regardless, that is a terrific top four on your defense. No doubt about it. Your goaltending tandem is where a lot of people have doubts. You have Alex Georgiev and Justus Annunen. So again, Georgiev, in the final year of his contract, he is facing a big make-or-break season. I think Annunen looked good last year as a rookie. I wouldn't rule him out taking the starting role, but again, we'll see. I do think that it's possible come trade deadline, they could look for a goaltender if there's one out there. Honestly, I wouldn't rule it out because Georgiev, I like Georgiev more than some people do, but I'm not sure if he's that starting goalie that you want necessarily. He looked all right in the playoffs, but you could argue that was because he's behind such a great blue line. But anyways, their team looks solid on paper. Just a matter of can all of that convert. So going to the Hockey News' yearbook, they are projected second in the Central, which isn't a surprise. Their odds for the Stanley Cup are 15-1, so the highest odds we have so far. Their biggest X factor, Nichushkin was suspended until at least mid-November, while Landeskog's timeline is to be determined. If both return reasonably close to previous form, the Avs will be a Stanley Cup favorite by April. If one comes back, they'll be a very good team. But if neither returns, the Avs will need to scramble or replace them, or it will be a gap year before another reload in 2025-26. So again, as I said, I definitely think that a lot of it does rely on Nichushkin and Landeskog coming back. If Landeskog's ready, not even by the start of the season, but like by November, I think they're a good team. If Nichushkin comes back, top six is loaded. But again, we really don't know what's going to happen with Nichushkin. We don't know what's going to happen there with his suspensions. So we'll see what happens. But regardless, at least as of right now, this Colorado Avalanche team is looking like a very excited, at least playoff lock, I would say, at least as of right now. And a team that could contend for yet again another Stanley Cup. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe down below. I greatly appreciate it. Tomorrow is the Columbus Blue Jackets season preview, so stay tuned for that. That one will be a lot of fun. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.